Here's how to read plumbing drawings explained simply, step by step. As you already know, plumbing deals with the flow and distribution of water, but let's start by breaking it down into the core systems. So first up, we've got domestic cold water, which is the supply of fresh drinking water to taps, toilets, sinks, whatever. You'll always have some connection to the water main unless it's a rainwater system. Integrated into the cold water supply, but obviously needing to be distributed in separate pipes, we will have some sort of heater facility. So a boiler plus distribution of hot water again. So we have hot water to our pipes. Then we've got sanitary and wastewater distribution, which is how the dirty water gets removed from our facility. Typically also included under the plumbing package is gas distribution. So this is obviously distributing natural gas to things like heaters or other facilities that need it for energy. We also have condensate drainage. So this is for things like fridges and air handling units that as part of doing their work, they'll create dripping. So we need some way to integrate that into the drainage system. And also our roof plumbing plan, which shows how water that falls on the roof flows into box drains and again into the sanitary water system. So before I go through explaining the actual specific drawings and how to go through and actually unpack a set of plumbing drawings, I want to spend a bit of time to explain the components of the different systems and functionally how each of the system works. Because if you don't understand this, you're not going to be able to read the plans. And if you do understand this stuff properly, the plans are going to make a lot more sense. But if you do already have a pretty fundamental understanding of plumbing systems, feel free to skip through this section. But basically, when we're talking about the components of a plumbing system, surprise, surprise, the first thing we have is piping. Now, obviously, piping has to represent different services. So for example, I don't even know if I have to explain this, but you can't have hot and cold water in the same pipe because you would end up with lukewarm water. So we obviously have different distribution depending on different pipes. The drawings I've shown you before, they are the overall aerial view layouts, and they are generally broken down into the different systems. You might have multiple systems on the same set of plans. And if you go to the legend section, you will be able to see all the different services that are running. So you might have condensate, deionized water if you need it for special equipment, cold water, hot water recirculating. So that's when you're pumping water back through the building, filtered water, gas, general grease waste, all these different components have different pipework. And again, the lines on the drawings will just represent different types of pipes. Unless you're using flexible pipe, but if you're using rigid pipe like this, all these different pipes, when you see bends on the drawings or joints, will have different fittings associated with them. Typically, the drawings won't tell you exactly what fittings you need. That'll be up to the plumber installing it, but that'll really specify bends, T-joints, all these different sort of fittings, reducers, all these different types of things are referred to as the fittings. They won't be specified directly in the drawings, but it'll be up to the people installing them. The next one we have a valve. So valves are like taps. You can shut off the supply of water to different things. Again, often they won't be shown on these layout drawings, but if you refer to the actual general notes, it'll specify that, for example, you have to have a shut-off valve per bit of equipment. And if you go to the legend in the drawings, it'll show you the different types of shut-off valves. Now, talking about those different subsystems, cold water, hot water, in more detail. So first one we have is cold water, which unless you're using a rainwater system, you will have a water main in the street that your system connects to. Your water company will typically have some sort of meter and shutoff valve, and then you will have a connection to the building. This is a pressurized supply from the city main that is drinkable unless you're in an area where it doesn't have potable water and you need some sort of filtering system. But basically, water will enter the building under pressure through a hose or meter, and it distributes through the pipework to every fixture in the building. So the first thing to understand is the water company needs to measure how much water you have. So they will have some sort of metering system. It could be an analog traditional meter, or it could be an electronic smart meter. That is always going to be the water authority's responsibility to supply and install it. You might have to pay some connection fee, but it wouldn't actually be you doing the work. The next thing we have are isolation valves, which is a fancy word of saying taps. And again, typically they aren't shown on the layout plan, but you'll have to look for things in the general notes saying things like provide ball valve isolation at all branches or at all fixtures. Next, we've got backflow prevention devices. So what are these? If we think about this situation, we have a direct connection to the water main. So say something happens in our house and all of a sudden there is a leak and sewage starts flowing into our customer piping, and sewage could potentially flow back into the water main. That would obviously be a huge disaster for the water authority, with suddenly if we've contaminated the town's water supply. So Most facilities will require, when you're installing a water meter, to have some sort of backflow prevention device. And all this does is it prevents water from your facility, potentially contaminated water, flowing back into the district mate. So for example, this set of drawings has a schedule of 5 different backflow prevention devices we have to install. The final thing that the drawings will typically specify are pressure reducing valves. So if this is high pressure water coming off the main, this is something that simply reduces the amount of pressure flowing in the pipe so we can safely turn on the taps or turn on the shower without getting blown away. So our domestic hot water is simply the same cold water, but it'll run through a water heater. You might either have one central water heater like the design of this building, and then you pipe hot water out, or you could have what's referred to as tankless water heater or an instantaneous water heater where the cold water flows in. It has a very small capacity, but it quickly heats the water so it comes out warm. So obviously a bigger unit is more economical because it can serve more fixtures rather than having to install these on every tap, but you also have to install a separate piping system. So generally it becomes a trade-off between cost to do it. Now, the other component of a hot water system will be a recirculation pump. What this is you have a big facility with lots of long pipes, and you have the water sitting in the pipes for a long period of time. The water can effectively become cold, so when you actually turn on the taps, cold water will come out of it. Maybe that is just something you notice when you turn on the taps, but big facilities may have a recirculation pump to avoid this problem. So this is the section view of the hot water system for our drawings. It's giving us a plan view, so we're looking on the different orientation of the system. They have control panels for the hot water system. They have their cold water coming in. They have dual redundant pumps with bypass valves on them so you can shut them off if one pump whatever fails. You have some sort of pressure reducing valve, and again, this is just then pumped through the facility. So the first component of this is obviously the water heater, the thing that actually heats up the water to begin with. These can be gas or electric. For this one, it's a gas heater. There's a burner below the tank of water that's heating up the water. So this facility would also require a natural gas connection to that point. Then we may have thermostatic mixing valves, which connect hot and cold water to get a mixed outlet. We can have circulation pumps, again, which solve the problem of having cold water sitting in the pipes, that you have a pump that's circulating the water through the system, so there's always hot water sitting in the pipes. Then we've got our sanitary and wastewater. So there's really 2 core components to the system. There are vent stacks, which basically alleviate pressure in the pipes and allow a place for air to go. The other one is we just have our general sanitary drainage, which will connect into the external sewage system. So this is water from our toilet or our sinks that it's generally gravity based. There's no pumping required, and basically carries used water out to sewer. And it also, with these vent pipes, it allows air that gets caught in the pipes a way of coming out, so we don't have like smelly or foul smelling water bubbling and coming out of our toilets. So these vent lines extend up through the building and come out in the roof of the building. If you don't have them, you get a vacuum effect that's like basically imagine you put your thumb over the end of a straw and pull it up. Water won't actually drain properly out of the straw unless you take your thumb off the top of the straw. So it's the same concept, just at a bigger scale. So again, this is just gravity-fed pipe, but there's a few core components of it that we should understand. The number one, a P-trap. So you'll probably notice when you look in the section, well, I'll show you when we look at the section views of the drawings, but also if I just look at a blown up cross-section like this, what happens is on any sort of sewer pipe, you have this U-bend. And what this does is this prevents sewer gas from flowing out the top of the sinks, because you get this natural crest with natural, low point where water sits in it. It protects smelly air coming out of the pipes, and it vents through the roof of the building. So if you can imagine, you would have water sitting in this U-shaped vent that would prevent the gases flowing out from the top of your sink. Because remember, all the drainage system would connect to the sewage system, which, it's a connection to large sewage. Again, so the other component we'll have of these systems are floor drains. So if you have what's referred to as a wet area, like your bathroom or a shower where water will fall into it, you obviously don't want it all connected to pipes. You just have a natural low point where all the surfaces fall to and water will naturally flow into. They're referred to as floor drains, and typically they have a wider void at the top where you can clean out and remove gunk from it so it doesn't get stuck in the pipes. that's referred to as a cleanout. So typically things like floor drains will be shown on the drawings where these pipes or these stubs of pipe are running to, and they'll also typically be specified in the plumbing and fixture schedule. But again, I'm going to go through all the drawings in a second. This is really just to help you understand the concept. Now, the final one of our sanitary system is the actual vent pipes, which is just basically pipes that connect and run to the roof. That, again, that concept of the straw, that if you're closing the straw at the top, you end up with a natural vacuum and it can't drain. But if you have it open at the top, the water can drain out. Okay, so not water and maybe traditionally what you'd think of as plumbing, but falls broadly under the plumbing trade, and typically in plumbing drawing set is any natural gas distribution. Again, natural gas, unless you have canisters installed at your house or facility, you will have some connection to the utility made. Natural gas operates under pressure and it is a fuel source that can be burnt and used. So you could use it on your gas stove or in a burner, an oven, whatever. Gas enters from the street through a gas meter, again, measuring how much gas you're actually using so the utility can bill you, and it'll come typically under relatively low pressure distribution. First component of the system will be the meter. There'll be some sort of gas shutoff valve there as well, so the utility can connect and turn off the gas. You may have pressure regulators that actually reduce the power of the gas. Then you could either have rigid copper piping like this, or the final equipment connections will typically be in sort of flexi corrugated piping. Next, we'll have some sort of condensate drainage. So air conditioning units, HVAC fridges that cause dripping or condensation due to the way they'll operate. Typically internal to the unit, you'll have some sort of drip tray, all this water falls, and then some condensate connection. So it'll be some sort of gravity-fed drainage like this that typically runs into the sanitary water system. All it's doing is just collecting excess moisture that's falling off the equipment. Okay, so those are all the systems. Once you understand the systems, it makes looking at the drawings 100 times easier. There's really 3 things, well, maybe 4 things you want to look at the drawings. You've got the schedule, which basically lists out all the important stuff and it will give the product specifications and further details. So schedule is probably the first place I would start when looking at the drawings. So 2 building hot water units, WH1, WH2. It has the capacity, the input, the volts, the phase, the frequency, and it does have a recommended manufacturer. So you could just simply then Google this product and you can see a picture and the product specs of exactly what it looks like. We've got the backflow prevention device. There's 5 backflow prevention devices, the gas load summary, there's an instantaneous hot water heater, and then there is a whole list of different plumbing fixtures and equipment. So when you're talking about these plumbing fixtures, often these will be types. So like, for example, TD2 is trench drain type 2. That same tag might be used in lots of different places. So there will be a product specification. So TD type 2 is 12-inch wide, extra heavy duty channel slope precast polymer concrete trench drain system, 1.52 meters in length, sloped at 1% towards slotted docktail iron lid. So it's describing exactly what it is. And then if we search in the document that tag TD2, we can see that trench drain type 2 exactly where it's being used. So the layouts basically just show you where everything is, the length of things, how it all connects together. The schedules and the product specs will tell you exactly what everything is. So you have to look at both the product specs and the layouts. The layouts tell you everything. The product specs tell you what you're actually installing. Now, the other thing I want to draw your attention to, which is important when you're looking particularly at services drawings in general, are the general notes. Because what you'll find service drawings, because architects tend to be more civil and structural orientated, that when they put together a set of plans like this, basically everything they're unsure about or everything they can't be bothered working on themselves, they will write down in these general notes. And it effectively becomes the requirements around which you have to build. So for example, they love putting stuff like this, that any conflicts of work shall be brought to the architect's attention by the plumbing contractor prior to purchase of equipment. That is just their catch-all equipment that if whatever this length of trench grain doesn't match the length that they've nominated on the drawings, that becomes the contractor's responsibility to work out. So really, you have to pay attention to the general notes a lot when you're reading plumbing and services drawings. And again, they will always refer to utility requirements. Because remember the meters, the connections to the building, that will be something we are coordinating with the utility. We're not installing ourselves. So they will always include things like refer to utility specifications or these types of things. The schedules tell you what everything is. The layout drawings tell you where everything goes. And the general notes cover everything else. Okay, so let's keep going through these in a bit more detail. We've got all sort of our general cold and hot water items like sinks, employee lounge sinks. Other items, we've got our thermostatic mixing valve. We've got a circulating pump for the hot water, the specs for that. We have our gas pressure regulators. We have 5 of those in maintaining the pressure of the gas. We have, what's this? Our plumbing equipment connection schedule, back of house. So back of house is a term that refers to an area where you wouldn't have pedestrians going, or people say this is a supermarket, you wouldn't have customers going into, it would just be for staff. There's items built under there. There's a schedule for connection equipment, and there is another schedule for remote refrigeration equipment, self-contained plumbing, and a schedule for all the different types of sinks. And that is when we then get into the layout drawing. So again, this is everything we know we need to install. It'll be referenced on the layouts. We just have to look through the layouts to understand where everything is. So all the layout drawings will be simple aerial views. They'll have grid lines so you can line them up between drawings. So there's a section view that shows specific detail. But I mean, it's very common sense once you know the actual equipment to like actually look what this drawing is. So this is a floor, waste, and vent. You can see the actual layout and orientation of the pipe. So FD1 will refer to floor drain 1. That is a 4-inch pipe. The dimensions notice FD2, floor drain 2, FD2, and it is basically HD1. Again, I'm not 100% sure what that is, but if I go back to the schedule and I look HD1, which is referred to as a hub drain. Now, because we know the sanitary system has the vent to the roof, there will be some notes on the drawings where these actual vent shafts are and where the venting to the roof is. So that is an example of a position where there is a vent shaft going to the roof. Then we've got our cold water reticulation. So if we zoom in, we can see this note 7. We get a note 7 in the general notes. Copper tubing shall be used PX or CVC piping, so it's specifying the type of piping. We can see the distribution of the pipes and the layouts. We can see CW refers to cold water. 1.5 inch will be the diameter of the pipe. 1.5 inch hot water. 1.5 inch hot water reticulation. So that is where the hot water is getting pumped back through the pipes. And again, basically it is just a layout of where all the piping is going. Not particularly hard to get your head around. And yeah, there's SKs 101, that'll be sink 101. And these are just overlaid on the architectural drawing. So you can see exactly where everything's going. They would need to be read in parallel. So any additional missing detail, maybe the actual elevations that show the sink heights and things, they might be shown as elevation views on the architectural. They might not be shown in the plumbing, but really, this is just a geographic description where we can use the tags for more detail. Natural gas, again, it's like quite simple. We can see the meter connection point. There's a comment 7 on the drawings that has specifications related to it and some keynotes. But again, a metering point, there's tags for equipment. There's orientations showing where all the pipe is, and on the actual pipes, it calls out the diameter. So really, plumbing drawings, not particularly challenging as long as you actually know and understand the different systems and how they all connect together, and then you know what you're looking for, you know what this all makes sense. But again, not difficult as long as you actually understand everything. I actually should mention they've given a dimension plan, which is giving orientations of where the pipes are going to be running, which can help you obviously to get more precise measurements than simply measuring from the grid lines.